Yes.
Everything. Yeah, tell me. Yeah.
Yeah, so as per our last discussion, you told me yesterday, tell us to upgrade everyone. Today you are starting API, but as per my suggestion, is it perfect? Okay.
When you understood Selenium, right? Then if I explain API, that will be a bit easier to understand because
Okay.
there is no UI testing in API. But when it comes to Selenium, everything comes with the UI only.
Yeah, so you are, I think you are just, yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah. Makes sense.
yeah. Okay, sir. Okay, thank you.
Good. Yeah. Okay, let's start. We're done with Java and let's start with automation testing today. So, what do you mean by automation testing? Do you think automation applicable only for software industry or automation applicable for other industries also? Every industry has the automation. Don't think automation only applicable for software industry. Automation is applicable for every industry. Example, if you take the toll gate on the highways when you go, you'll have a toll gate, right? Earlier they were collecting money manually. Then what they introduced something called FASTag. They will give you one sticker, and that sticker will have the barcode, and it will automatically read your barcode and collect your money, and it will also open the door. That's the example of automation. If you take agriculture, you guys have your drip irrigation system. What is drip irrigation system? Earlier we were having a lot of labor to put the water, right? Now what they did, that is also one of the example. Now you take chips packet making company. So how much automation they have? They have a lot of machines which they would only put into the packet. They will only fill the packet and then they send it out for the pickup. Now you take car wash. If you want to go for car wash, now you also have automatic car wash. Just put your car inside, it will clean everything and then take it up. So there are so many examples for the automation, right? There are so many examples for the automation. Major purpose of automation is to reduce manual efforts. Major purpose of automation is to reduce manual efforts and try to cut down as much as you can cut down the money. I mean, reduce the expenses. Now you take one hotel near to Madhapur, they have a robo. I see there are two robots who will serve the food to you. Serving is that they don't put it into your plate, they just do the table number, they enter the table number to the robo, they will put all the plate and all whatever is needed. The robo will come and stand near to your table, you have to take it. So how many labors you are reducing there? There is no expense. You just invest once. Just invest once, and you don't need any waiter. Right? There is no dependency. You only need to charge the robot. That's all. Once coding is done, then it understands what table number you are entering, it will go to the same table. There are so many examples for the automation. Okay. So what is automation in software industry? What is automation in software industry? Software industry automation means testing. So whatever manual testing we are doing, we wanted to reduce the manual efforts. We talked about Agile, right? Agile will always have regression impact. We understood regression testing. So every time we have to execute some test cases for every sprint. Do you think client will agree if you do manual testing? Client will not agree. Manual testing will take a lot of efforts. Point number one. Point number two, billing to the client is very high. Every day you do the manual testing to execute 200 test cases for 1 month. You'll be paying a lot of lakhs of money to the client has to pay lakhs of money to the company. One time it's okay, client can say that's okay. But second time, if you continuously repeat charging more to the client will ask, why don't you automate? Why don't you reduce manual effort? So In software industry, that is specific to testing, what we are trying to do, what we are trying to do from the automation point of view, whatever manual test cases we have, we are trying to automate them. How many types of test cases you guys are having? How many types of test cases for that manual testing? Three types: functional, GUI, and field level validation. Just try to refresh yourself. Don't think I'm done Java, I'm done. Done means not done. You should remember, okay? Now, most of the time, what we are going to automate from the testing point of view, we are trying to take functional test cases. We don't generally do not automate GUI, we don't automate field level validation test cases. We try to automate only functional test cases, functionality, right? So testing automation means we try to take the functional test cases and write some coding using one of the automation tool and execute the coding. It will automatically run your manual test cases. Example, HRM login. I have HRM login. What I have to do, I have to open the browser, I have to type the user URL, then I have to type the user ID, I have to type the password, then click on login button. So for that, what I can do, I can use one tool and use some program and try to automate it. Just click on run, it will take care of everything. So that is what exactly called as automation. So when it comes to the definition, automation is the process of using a program. Automation is the process of using a program to execute user transactions. User transactions means the test steps. Every test case will have test steps, right? How to execute particular test case against the system. This is achieved by using an automated test tool. This is achieved using an automated test tool. So any automation tool you guys take it, there are always two things. One is automation tool, another one is programming language. Don't think if I go to other automation tool, I don't need to do the coding. It doesn't matter which tool you are going to learn. Every tool you should use programming language. Now, if you observe in this slide here, right, so it is clearly saying using a program. Program means you have to write a program. To write a program, you need some programming language skill. What we learned? Java, right? Using a program, using an automated test tool. So you'll always have one programming language and one automation tool, right? Actually, I want to offer from okay. You were a tester, whatever you have got in class that was so much helpful for me. Most of interviews questions from your FAQs. I want to thank you from my bottom of my heart. Okay. Yeah. Congrats, Saurabh, on your you offered. Congratulations. So was that on manual testing FAQs only? Or the questions were only on manual testing? Only manual testing. Okay. That's good to hear. All the best then. Okay. Now, so let's moving on. Repeat again. Every automation will have two concepts. One is programming language. One is automation tool. You have to use these two. Don't think if I go to other tool, I will escape from the programming language. Don't think if I go to other programming language, I will escape from the language. Okay. So now there are two types of automation testing. There are two types of automation testing. One is functional automation testing. One is functional automation testing. Another one is non-functional automation testing. What do you mean by functional automation? As the name says, functional automation means as the name says, functionality. What are we trying to automate? Functionality. We discussed GUI test case, field validation, field level test cases, and functional test case. Functional test case means to check the functionality. Functional automation means whatever functional test cases you guys have, and you try to automate them. What is non-functional automation? Non-functional means performance testing. Not functionally, I think we need to recap the manual testing, environmental FAQs. Manual testing FAQs will cover everything, whatever you learned in manual testing. So not I just reconnected. Looks like internet was disconnected and again connected. Is it good now? Is it clear now? I'm just sharing my screen now. Are you guys able to see my screen? Okay. So there are two types of careers in automation. One is functional automation tester. Another one is performance automation tester. Functional automation tester and performance tester. You are here for what? You are here for functional automation or you are here for non-functional automation? Hmm? You are here for what? You are here for functional. Any idea why are you coming to functional? Why not for performance? Anyone told you go for functional? Before coming to course, did you investigate how many types of automation we have, which one I have to choose, which is the best one? You are going to start your career, you need to analyze when you want to go for automation. Which one is, how many types of automation I have, which one I have to go. So you all are here for functional automation, not for performance automation. Now the next question comes, do I need to learn performance or automation also? Answer is no. Either you learn functional automation or I'm saying or not and or performance automation. Whatever you guys have, functional automation or performance automation. That is complete different designation and this is complete different differs to company to company. One company will give you automation engineer. One company will give you automation engineer. Another company will give you as performance automation engineer. So they are separating the people. Wherever I work in multiple companies, wherever I go, everywhere I saw that performance testing is completely different. Don't think you need to mix up both. Most of the time you don't do both. You will do only function automation or only performance automation. You don't need to go for doing both. Okay. So why for now let's go into the functional automation. There are so many tools available in the market. There are so many tools available in the market for functional automation testing. So like example, some of the functional automation tools available in the market are QTP. QTP is from which company? HP. I'm giving you functional automation to automate the functional test cases. You guys can automate any test cases using any of the tool that is available. So one of the tool is what? QTP. QTP is coming from where? Which company? HP. Then you have Silk test. Silk test is also another tool. Just these are tools like a Selenium I'm explaining. These are the competitors to Selenium. There are different products. Every tool is nothing but a product which can be used by any testing team, right? So Silk test is from I don't know now, but Silk test was from the Borland. Silk test was from Borland. I was using Silk test in 2006. Yeah, 2006. Selenium is from which company? Selenium is from ThoughtWorks. ThoughtWorks is a company who actually developed the Selenium. And you also have VSTS. VSTS is from which company? Microsoft. So there are so many tools available in the market. QTP, Silk test, VSTS. Then next question, why are you going only for Selenium? Why not QTP? Why not VSTS? QTP is from HP, VSTS is from Microsoft. These are big shots, right? Very big companies. Why are you not going for QTP? Why not for VST? More opportunities in the market is with the Selenium. You always have more opportunities with respect to the Selenium compared to other tools. So when it comes to non-functional automation, there are also so many tools available in the market. There are also so many tools available in the market. Like example, load runner, JMeter, Silk Performer. So these are additional tools what you guys are having in the market for performance testing. So you don't have to worry anything related to the performance testing because you are not going to learn the performance testing. You are going to learn only functional automation. In functional automation, there are so many tools available. In functional automation, there are so many tools available. Then why are you guys going for Selenium? Because Selenium is having more opportunities in the market. Now, Selenium, any tool, it doesn't matter. Any tool, it doesn't matter. Whichever you are using, you have to use a program and you have to use automation tool. When I say a program, you should use one programming language. So when I say a program, you should use one programming language. Then which language I should learn? So why should I learn Java? Because we already learned Java. So why we have to go for Java? Open source. Selenium supports so many languages. Selenium supports Java, Ruby, Python, Perl, Ruby scripting, not Ruby scripting, I think Java scripting, and C Sharp. So Selenium supports almost seven programming language. Selenium supports almost seven programming language. Then why are we going Selenium with Java? Because more opportunities in the market are Selenium with Java. Point number one. Point number two, Java is open source. Open source means free of cost. You don't need to purchase it. You just go to Google, download it, and start using it. Just go to Google, download it, free of cost, use it. And Selenium is what? Selenium is also open source. This is the major reason why Selenium is popular in the market because client need not to pay any money to use it. Our company need not to purchase any licenses. The next question goes, why Selenium into Java? Because Java is also open source. And Selenium is also open source. Any questions on this slide? Okay, start moving to the next one. Now the next question comes, why and when to go for automation? Why should I go for automation? As I already mentioned, to reduce the manual efforts and to reduce the cost. So if you reduce the manual efforts, automatically the employees will come down, labor will come down, then you are reducing the money, right? So saves the time. Why should I use to save the time? What do you mean by save the time? Yes, Chandra, you are right. Selenium itself is developed in Java. That is another reason, I'll explain it. There is another slide. Okay. What do you mean by save time? Save money. Whenever you are saving time, it means you are saving the money. Now let's take an example. I have regression suite. We understood regression. What is regression testing? So when we are coming step by step, it doesn't mean you forget the previous step. You should always remember. Before coming tomorrow session, try to refresh complete manual testing FAQs. I think there were 38 questions, I believe, along with the answers that is already there in Google Class. Before coming tomorrow session, I would recommend you guys to go through the FAQs with the answers. That is the purpose why we learn. If I have to explain regression now, I again have to go for the manual testing. Again, I have to start levels of testing, system testing, regression testing. And course will never ending. Right? So try to refresh yourself. What I mean to say, what I mean to say is, I have 200 test cases. I have total 200 test cases, which I supposed to execute for every sprint. For every sprint, I have to execute 200 test cases as part of regression testing. Regression testing means whenever new code is added, whenever new code is added or modified to implement the new sprint or to fix the defect, we need to make sure it is not creating, we need to make sure it is not creating any defects to the existing system. If it is the previous system, it should not impact. So like that I have categorized total 200 test cases. Like that I have categorized total 200 test cases which I supposed to run on every sprint. Sprint, let's say I have a sprint, 4 week sprint. Example I am giving. Don't think every sprint should be 4 weeks. It depends to project to project. Some projects will have 2 weeks, some projects will have 3 weeks, some projects will have 4 weeks. It differs to project to project. Now let's consider I have a sprint which is for 1 month time and I have 200 test cases. I have to execute these 200 test cases for every month. Whenever my sprint is completed, whenever my sprint is completed, for every sprint I have to go and execute the 200 regression test cases. You know how much time it will take? It will take 1 month time to execute 200 test cases. Let's say I have two manual testers who are dedicatedly working on that particular 200 test cases. Every IT company charges to the client on hourly basis. Per hour, it is many dollars. The company will not work for to the client for free of cost. They always charge to the client. Example, per hour, let's say they are charging $40 per hour. Per hour, $40 for one resource. How many resources are working? Two resources are working. How many hours for two resources total? One resource 8 hours, another resource is 8 hours. So 16 hours per day. 16 hours per day into 16 hours per day into 5. How many hours per week? 16 into 5. Let me sorry, 80. 80 dollars, not $80. Oh, hold on. 8 hours per day into $40. 320. $320 per day per resource. So how many resources you have? Two resources. So how many dollars per day? 640. 4 weeks means 20 days. Into 20 days. So how many dollars you are charging to the client? $12,800 you are charging to the client. It is very high amount. Divided by into how much it is going in USD now? 80. 10 lakhs 24,000 per month into 100 year. 1 crore 22 lakhs 88,000 we are charging to the client only because of manual testing. Do you think client will be happy with this paying 1 crore 22 lakhs per year? No one will continue with the company. They will immediately leave the company, move to other company. You understand the importance of automation? Now, what I will do instead of doing the manual testing, what I'm trying to do, I'm trying to go, I'm trying to, you know, um I'm trying to, automate. So let's say I've done automation. I have done automation of 200 test cases. Do you think how much time it will take for 200? Okay, development automation I'm not touching. To develop 200 test cases, it will take 1 month or 2 months, not 1 week. It's not that faster. Let it be. It is one-time effort. You have to put one time. After developing, that's all you are done, right? So let's take the same example of hotel. You develop the robo. How much time it will take? Let's say 2 months. After that, if you're paying waiter 10,000 per month, you reduce two waiters by replacing the two robots. So how much you are saving? 20,000 per month. So that's how we need to calculate. Once I automate the 200 test cases, once I automate 200 test cases, to run the automation test cases, I run them in the night before I'm leaving from my office. I run them in the night. When I come in the morning, my automation script results are available. So all 200 test cases are executed. I'm spending any time there, nothing. Before leaving from the office, I click on run, I go home. When I come in the morning, I will see that 200 test cases are executed. You will also get the results. So do you think? Where is 1 crore 22 lakhs and it becomes a zero? Are you paying, client is paying you anything? 1 crore 22 lakhs becoming to zero to the client. Then do you think client will not happy? We have something called, I'm not recollecting that word. So I used to prepare that report for one client. I'll let you know once I recollect it. We used to tell to the client how much money we saved you per year. So once I automated, I can tell to the client 1 crore 22 lakhs I saved you. So then client will not be happy. I used to prepare that report every quarter. I mean, not senior members will prepare, manager designation level they will prepare. I used to prepare that report and send it to the client that these many dollars I save you per quarter. So we need to always showcase that we are saving you money so that clients can continue with us. If you have any other projects, they can also give us other projects as well. Okay, budgeting is fine. But budgeting, there is something investment, return on investment, right? Yeah, return on investment, ROI, what we call ROI means return on investment. So, example, to automate 200 test cases, client has to invest. Client has to. Do you think 200 test cases will be done in one day? Okay? So we still charge to the client. Or let's say it will take 2 months to develop 200 test cases. We charge to the client only for 2 months. After that, what is the investment client is doing? 2 months of money. That is called return on investment. Investment means client is paying you to develop automation script for 2 months. That's the investment client is giving you. I need to show to the client return on my investment. How much money I got return from the what you invested. Maybe client would have invested 1 lakh example. So how much I'm saving to the client? 1 crore. So I need to show this is what investment you made and this is the return I'm giving you. Profit. Return on investment. We call it as ROI. Okay. Now, whatever automation script you guys have written, it is reusable. Whatever automation script you guys have written, it is reusable. For every sprint, you can use it. For every sprint, you guys can go ahead and use it. It's reusable. And error prone human behavior. Error prone means generally the whatever the manual testing you are doing. Do you think tester is also not bored doing the same thing for every month? Same test cases every time. Do you think tester is not bored? Tester will be obviously bored. And tester also will ask release from the project. I don't want to continue in the project. Please release me. Because it's boring task every day I have to do the same job. And there is also no opportunity for me to do the automation. So all these concerns tester also will raise. Right? So error prone behavior and it also improves the accuracy. Now we understood why should I go for automation. Now we need to understand when should I go for automation. Why should I go for automation and when should I go for automation. When should I go for automation? Wherever you see there is a regression, you have to go for doing the automation. Wherever you see there is a regression, you have to go for automation. Okay. So where is the regression? Wherever you go for agile. What is the project? In the market projects are running in agile itself. Most of the projects running in agile are in agile model only. Agile means sprint. Every 2 weeks or 3 weeks, the developer will be keep on modifying the code. Developer will be keep on modifying the code or adding the new code. So there is more scope of the regression, right? There is more scope of the regression. So for that purpose, what we are going to do, we are going to do the automation. Wherever you see scope for the regression, then go for doing the automation. Consider that wherever you have regression, you have to go for automation. Now, second point, when application is stable. When application is stable means generally we do not go for automation on the day one. Generally, we do not go for automation from the day one. We want application to be stable. First time when it is released to the testing team, it is not stable. Environment issues will be there, deployment issues will be there. So we want application to be stable. The next one is no frequent changes to the system. What do you mean by no frequent changes to the system? No frequent changes to the system means sorry, client is keep on asking you guys to change the system. Client is keep on asking you to change that requirement, change this requirement. The client is asking to do the changes. What you have to do? Again, you have to modify your script. Generally, it is not recommended when client is keep on changing the requirements. You don't need to go for doing automation. Wait until requirements are stabilized. Wait until application is stabilized. Okay. This is the place when and why should I go for doing the automation testing. Okay. Now the next slide. Now we'll talk about introduction to Selenium. Introduction to Selenium. We understood what is automation, advantages of automation, types of automation. Now let's move on understanding introduction to Selenium. What is Selenium? Functional automation testing tool. How many types of automations you guys are having? Functional automation and performance automation. You guys are Selenium is what? Selenium is for functional automation testing. Selenium is nothing but functional automation testing. Selenium is an open source functional automation. Open source means free of cost. You guys can go ahead and download it and use. Wherever you see the word open source, always remember it is nothing but free of cost. Always remember it is nothing but free of cost. You can just use it on free. So Selenium supports only web-based applications. Selenium supports only for web-based application. So what do you mean by web-based applications? Any application that runs on the browser. Web means browser, web-based, browser-based. Any application that runs on the browser, any application that runs on the browser is called as a web-based application. And Selenium is going to support web-based applications only. It does not support desktop-based application. Example, calculator. What is calculator? Desktop application. It's not a web-based application. So Selenium will not support desktop applications. It is going to support only web-based application. Selenium is going to support only web-based application. Now, what do you mean by compatibility testing? You have to check whether application is compatible with the different browsers, different operating system. So what I'm saying, Selenium supports multiple browsers, many operating systems. Means whatever script I have written, example I said 200 test cases I automated. I can run them in Google Chrome. I can run them in Firefox. Whichever browser you wanted to run, you guys can go ahead and run it. This is going to be free of cost, right? And then operating system. Now today I wanted to execute on Windows, and tomorrow I wanted to execute it on Android. So Selenium is going to support complete compatibility testing. Compatibility means testing the application in different browsers and different operating systems. Okay. And Selenium supports multiple programming languages. Selenium supports multiple programming languages. As I mentioned, any automation tool you take, any automation tool you take, it should support one programming language, and it should support, it should take one programming language and one automation tool. So which language I have to take? Which language I have to learn? If you take QTP, QTP is also one of the functional automation tools, but it's not a open source. It's a licensed version. So QTP is going to support what? QTP is going to support only VB scripting or JavaScript. It will not support multiple languages. Okay. Now, when you go for VSTS, VSTS is also another tool which is available in the market. So VSTS is from which company? From Microsoft. And what language they are supporting? C Sharp and .NET. C Sharp is from Microsoft itself. .NET is also from Microsoft itself. The C Sharp and .NET are licensed versions, not the free. VSTS is licensed version. C Sharp is programming language licensed version. .NET programming language is licensed version. Now, when it comes to sync test, what is sync set? Um, Vijay Babu, you recently joined for what? Only for automation testing or both manual and automation? Okay, so automation only. So today is the first day for automation. You don't need to get the notes. Ask them to add you to Google Class. Okay, just check with admin. They will try to add you to, you know, uh, they will try to add you to Google Class where I'll put the material. Okay. So now Selenium is not restricting to use only this language or use only that language. Selenium saying go ahead and use whatever you wanted to use. They are going to support what these many programming languages. Selenium is supporting these many programming languages. It is supporting Java, C Sharp, Ruby, Python, PHP, Perl, and there is one more language called JavaScript. So you are not forced to use only C Sharp or .NET to use, right? If I know, let's say I know Python, for example, I can say that 60 to 70% I am done. Only 30 to 40% I have to learn only what is Selenium, how to use Selenium with the Python. Example, we are going to learn Selenium with Java. So why are we going to learn Selenium with Java? Reason number one, Java is open source tool. Okay, Selenium is also open source tool. Reason number two, Java also open source. Don't need to pay anything, right? And you also have something called what you call that Selenium itself is developed. Selenium itself is developed in Java. Any tool you wanted to develop, any tool you wanted to develop, you should have this one programming language, one technology. So Selenium itself is developed in Java. Okay. So these are the features of Selenium. You will understand why Selenium is famous in the market. Why you are having so many Java opportunities in the market, Selenium with Java, because both are open source. Don't need to pay anything. And it is also having the features which even licensed version tools are not supporting. I don't want to name the tools, but some licensed version tools also not supporting what features Selenium is supporting. It is giving you more features than the licensed one. It is giving you more features than the licensed one. Because when it comes to free of cost, and which is giving me more features than the licensed one, why don't I go for using the Selenium? That is the major reason why Selenium is famous in the market. Okay. Major reason is it supports different languages, compatibility testing, and open source. These are the reasons why Selenium is famous in the market. Now let's understand components of the Selenium. Selenium components. There are four components what you have in Selenium. One is Selenium IDE, then Selenium RC, then you have WebDriver, and then you have Selenium Grid. Okay, now let's understand each component. Selenium comes with these components. Don't think Selenium is only simply tool. It contains four components. Now let's move on to understand IDE. You don't have to learn much about the IDE because it's not much useful. You don't have to worry. Okay. So now what is an IDE? IDE means user Eclipse. What is Eclipse? Eclipse also IDE. Eclipse is also one IDE. IDE stands Integrated Development Environment. IDE stands for Integrated Development Environment. Example, IDE is one of the component. Eclipse is one of the IDE that is available in the market. IntelliJ is one of the IDE that is available in the market. So what are the features of IDE? We don't need to spend much time on IDE because it nowhere is used in the real time. It is nowhere is used in the real time. So Selenium IDE is nothing but add-on to the browser. Selenium IDE is nothing but add-on to the browser. So you should have at least one browser. So IDE is add-on to browser means for which browser? Add-on to the Chrome and as well as to the Firefox browser. So you can use Selenium IDE. If you wanted to use IDE, you should have Firefox browser or you should have Chrome browser. You should have at least one. You can add this IDE to Firefox browser or you can add it to the No browser. I think now they also given it for Microsoft Edge also. Right? It is there for Edge now. Yeah. Okay. So what ID is going to do? ID is going to record and play back. What ID is going to do? ID is going to record and play back. What it is going to record? User transactions. User transactions means whatever transactions I am doing, ID is going to record. Example, I will open my HRM application and then I enter my user ID, then I enter my password, then I click on login. All these things are called as user transactions, and ID is going to record all these transactions. Whatever transactions I'm performing, ID is going to record all these transactions, and then it will ask you to play back. It will also ask you to play, not ask you, allows you to play back. Whatever you record, then play it back. So earlier days, like 2004 or like that, 2005, it was automation. When we say automation, record and playback. No coding, no programming, nothing. But now, no recording, only coding. Okay. I also told you the designation. What is the designation? SDET. SDET means software engineer developer in test. Once your course is completed, you practice very well, you can even all apply for SDET role. Wherever you see SDET role in Naukri or any job portals, you guys can also apply for that SDET. Okay, SDET means software engineer developer tester. They are adding developer role also to the tester. Okay, so ID basically allows to record and playback. You don't so whenever it is recording user transactions, whenever it is recording user transactions. So what it is going to do, it automatically writes the code on its own. So whenever you are recording user transaction, what ID is going to do, ID is going to record user transaction. ID is going to record user transactions. And whenever it is recording, it will automatically write programming itself. In ID, we are not writing any coding. It will automatically take care by IDE itself. So when I say it uses the language to write your coding, which language IDE is going to use? HTML. IDE is going to use a language called HTML programming language. Okay, now coming back to the drawbacks. So what are the drawbacks we have? What are the drawbacks we have? It runs only in Firefox and Chrome. I think now they also given it in the Microsoft Edge. And then IDE will not allow to use conditions and loops. We understood conditions and loops, right? So condition means if, else. Loops you already know. For loop, while loop, and do while. So why IDE is not allowing these loops? So why IDE is not allowing conditions and loops? Which language it is using? HTML. If HTML supports loops, HTML does not support loops. HTML does not support conditions. When language itself does not support, then how can we use this conditions and loops? Okay. And IDE will not support recording transactions, uploading the file. For example, you have an application like Naukri.com where I have to upload my CV and I wanted to record those transactions. I wanted to record those transactions. ID is not going to recognize that. ID is not going to recognize that. And ID also does not support reading data from external files. It means I'm going to put my test data in Excel and I wanted to read the data from Excel to application. ID is not going to support. So these are the drawbacks what we have in IDE. In real time, we'll not use the IDE. So just for explanation purpose, it's there. I have to explain. I'm explaining it. Don't think you in your project you record and playback. No one will accept that. There will not be any single question, interview question related to IDE. You don't have to worry about it. So, but To understand some purpose, I will anyhow tomorrow maybe try to do it today. But mostly we'll try to see it tomorrow. We will try to download ID and then I will show you how it is going to record and how it is going to play back recorded transactions. Okay, let's move on to the next slide. Now this is called web. We have done with what IDE. IDE is having what some drawbacks. IDE is having some drawbacks. So whatever drawbacks you have in IDE, they removed all these drawbacks and they introduced one more component called RC. If you remember drawbacks of IDE is nothing but features of RC. RC means remote control server. If you know the drawbacks of IDE, nothing but features of RC. Okay. So now let's understand. Let's understand. You know the architecture of RC, how it is going to work. Architecture of RC, how it is going to work. Now, in the bottom, whatever you see here, right, in the black color, let's understand this is my coding. I said, whenever you wanted to do automation, you have to use one automation tool and you have to use one programming language. Now, let's understand I'm using Python. I'm using Python as my programming language. I'm using Python as my programming language. And this is the where my code is available. This is my laptop in which my code is available and my code is available in Python. Now these are the different browsers on which application is running. These are the different browsers uh, in which application is running. Okay. Now what we do, you have a remote control server. RC means remote control server. RC means remote control server. Now I'm clicking on run. It is clicking on run Java program, right, in Eclipse. A similar way, we also have to run the program in Selenium also, right? So when I click on run, when I click on run this program, when I click on run this program, what it is going to do, in which language you have written coding? Python. So when you click on run, it will go to remote control server. It will go to remote control server, and then it will go and execute your code in your browser. Let's take an example. The HRM login I automated here. Let's take an example. HRM login I have automated here. So whenever I click on run, Python language is used, and I click on run, where it will go? It will go to remote control server. So what RC is doing here? RC is converting each and every line of the code. RC is converting each and every line of the code into JavaScripting. Which language I used? Full relax mode. Which language I'm using? Python, right? So when I click on run, what RC is doing? Converting every line of the code, whatever every line of the code you guys have written, every line of the code Python, sorry, RC is converting into JavaScripting. It doesn't matter which language you have used. It doesn't matter which language you have used for writing your automation script. It doesn't matter you use Java, it will convert to JavaScript. If you use Ruby, it will convert into JavaScript. If you use Python, it will convert into JavaScript. If you use Perl, same thing. You use PHP, same thing. So OneC is purely dependent on Java scripting. So whatever language you guys have written, it doesn't matter. When it comes to RC, every line of the code should go to RC, and RC needs to convert every line into JavaScripting. And after that, it is going to inject JavaScripting commands to your application. I repeat, it doesn't matter which language you use. When it comes to RC, it will it will disable your sorry, it will convert your programming language into JavaScripting, and then it is going to inject JavaScripting commands to application. So what is the drawback here? The first drawback is conversion. Every line of code needs to be converted. Every line of code needs to be converted, which is taking more time consuming process. If I have some 10,000 lines, every line it should convert into VB scripting, then you can imagine how much time it will take. 10,000 just example I'm saying. If you go to real time, there will be more lines of code. Every line of the code needs to be converted into JavaScript, which is time consuming. First drawback. And second drawback, your coding is not directly interacting with your application. Your coding is not directly interacting with your application. So what it is doing, there is a mediator between your script and the application. That is nothing but remote control server. This is the second drawback. And the company whoever is developing this product, they announce that it's a deprecated. They announce that it's a deprecated. What do you mean by deprecated? Outdated, not to use. It is strongly recommended not to use. No one is using IDE, no one is using the RC also. No one is using RC also. You don't need to spend time more than this. This is one of the components, so you need to know what is this component, why people not using it. That is the reason I'm just spending 10 15 minutes time only on RC. You don't need to even think or discuss anything related to RC because it is deprecated. Deprecated means it is strongly recommended not to use. Okay. Then what we have first thing we had IDE. They have some drawbacks. They removed all the drawbacks and they said RC, another component. And again they introduced some drawbacks in RC. So whatever drawbacks we have in RC, they introduced another component called WebDriver. Another component called WebDriver. So WebDriver is the major component. WebDriver is the major component in the Selenium. If you are learning anything in the Selenium, you are going to learn only WebDriver. You don't need to learn IDE, you don't need to learn the RC also. No one is using that. IDE somewhere you can use it, but if I ask you to use it, you will become a lazy, you will not learn. There is something called export and all. IDE will automatically generate those things to you. But when you go for an interview, they will ask you to write it. There you cannot use the IDE. If you use IDE, then you will be, lazy that you will get something you don't put your efforts to learn. Okay. Now, what is the architecture of the WebDriver? Architecture of the WebDriver. If I remove this remote control server, if I remove this remote control server, that is nothing but the architecture of my WebDriver. So there is no conversion. Compared to RC, WebDriver is faster. Compared to RC, WebDriver is faster. Why it is faster? Because there is no conversion in the place. There is no conversion in the place. Point number one. Point number two, your code will directly interact with your application. There is no mediator between your code and the application. Your code can be executed directly with your application. There is no RC like in between your coding and then in between your application. And compared to RC, WebDriver is faster. Okay. I need not to talk anything related to WebDriver because that is only what we are going to learn. So, what are the drawbacks of what do you call the RC? It's conversion. WebDriver, there is no conversion, and WebDriver is faster compared to RC. Another point, RC deprecated long back. RC is deprecated long back. When it was there 10, 15 years before. Now it is completely not in use. So RC does not support latest versions of RC does not support latest versions of browsers. RC also does not support latest operating systems in the market like you have Android. RC does not support Android operating system. RC does not support iOS operating system. So since it is deprecated, they completely stop working on it. They don't care whatever is coming. They completely, when I say deprecated, understand they completely stopped upgrading the system to support new operating system. When it comes to WebDriver, WebDriver is the key component. WebDriver is the key component of all the component of Selenium. So WebDriver supports almost all the browsers which are available in the market. WebDriver supports almost all the browsers which are available in the market with the latest version. Point number one advantage of it. Another advantage is WebDriver also supports iOS and Android operating and Mac operating systems also, along with the latest versions of the operating system. You guys understand it, right? You'll always have different versions keep on upgrading for browsers keep on upgrade and operating systems also will keep on upgrade. Now, what is the next component we have? Grid. Do you think WebDriver has some drawbacks? So we are going for using grid. Grid is for compatibility testing. I said Selenium is going to support compatibility testing, running it in different browsers and different operating systems. So WebDriver also has some drawbacks. When we start the WebDriver, mostly tomorrow we will start the WebDriver. Only whenever a topic comes, I'll explain that this is a drawback with the WebDriver. Even if I explain them, I don't think you may be able to understand it. When we talked about the WebDriver programs, that time I will try to explain you. So let's move on to the next component called grid. Do you think I can have multiple operating systems in one machine? Can I install iOS, Android, Mac, Windows in my laptop? One machine, one operating system. You cannot install multiple operating systems. Now let's try to understand the grid concept. Let's try to understand grid concept. So grid has two things. One is the hub, one is the node. What is hub and what is node? We will try to understand. Hub is nothing but my machine. Hub is nothing but my machine in which my automation code is available. Hub is my machine in which my automation code is available. Then what is node? What is node? Node means testing the application in different browsers. Testing application, different browsers and different operating systems. Since I cannot install all the operating systems in one machine, they introduce the concept called node. Node means each device is one node. You should have you should have at least only one hub. You should have at least only one hub, but you can have any number of nodes. There is no restrictions on the node. You can have any number of nodes. First, what is this node one here? Are you guys able to see it? Android mobile device. Node one mobile device with operating system called Android. Node 2 Internet Explorer operating system called Windows XP. Node 3 Firefox browser and some other operating system. Node 4 Safari in Mac operating system. So how many nodes you will have in how many operating system client wanted to test it, that many nodes you are going to create. Don't think I should have only one node or two nodes. There is no restrictions on the node. You guys can have any number of nodes. There is no restriction on the node. Then how many nodes I should have depending upon how many operating system client is asking you guys to do the testing. In how many operating system client is asking you to do the testing. Example, client asking me one on Android, one on Windows, one on UBA and one is on Mac. So that is the reason I created total four nodes here. Now, if you see that arrow marks, right? If you see that blue color or whatever the color, so what these arrow marks are doing, these are connecting to the nodes. Hub is connecting to the nodes. So you need to connect hub with the node. You need to connect hub with the node. Now let's take my application is SRM. My hub is what my laptop. What it is containing? It is containing my login automation code. Example, I automated login automation code. So what it is going to do when I click on run, it is in my laptop. I click on run. Let's assume this is connected to four nodes. Node 1, node 2, node 3, node 4. When I click on run, what it is going to do? My script is going to connect to node 1, node 2, node 3, and node 4. And there they are going to open the browser. Node 1, it will open the browser. Node 2, it will open the browser. Every node, it is going to open the browser. Then it will type my HRM application URL. Then it is going to type my HRM application URL. Then it will enter user ID. So whatever you are doing, everything is going to be performed in all the nodes. That's what exactly the compatibility testing. You write script to only one script, but your script will execute in different operating systems and different browsers. Okay. This is the purpose of grid. Don't think grid is introduced because WebDriver is having drawback. WebDriver regularly they are keep on updating the WebDriver. What is the WebDriver? Interface. We discussed about interfaces, right? What is the WebDriver? WebDriver is nothing but a interface. What interface will contain? Only abstract methods. Interface will contain only abstract methods. WebDriver does not have anything. Only methods, nothing else. That too abstract methods, and it does not have any definitions. Okay, now I said I cannot install all operating systems in my machine. I said I cannot install all operating systems in my machine, but can I install all what is that, all browsers in my machine? There are two types of compatibility testing. Some people will ask you compatibility with different browsers. Some people will ask compatibility with different browsers as well as operating system. So first purpose of grade to run it in different operating system. If your performance testing requirement, if your performance testing requirement is only to run it in different browsers, you need a grid. You don't need to use the grid. The reason you install every browser in your local machine only, and try to test it in different browsers. I repeat, grid is needed only when you wanted to test your application with different operating systems. That is the purpose of introduction to the grid. Second reason, now let's say I have automated total 2000 test cases. Let's take an example iPhone, Apple, or whatever, Samsung, smartphones. They keep on releasing markets. Let's say I have 2000 test cases which I have automated. 2000 test cases. It will take a lot of time to execute 2000 test cases. Let's say it is taking 2 days time. Let's say it is taking 2 days time to execute my 2000 test cases. Now, what I wanted to do, they are executing it only one machine. They are executing it on only one machine. Now, what I wanted to do, I wanted to divide into two machines. One is node 1, another one is node 2. Now, what I will try to do, 1000 test cases I will run in node 1, 1000 test cases I will run it in node 2. So, what you are doing, you are splitting in 1000 into one device, 1000 into another device. How much time it was taking earlier for one machine? 2 days. Now, how much time it is taking? Only one day. If you have a huge automation scripts and you wanted to reduce the execution time, you wanted to reduce the execution time, then you have to go for using the grid. There are two reasons to go for grid. One reason is go for using the grid to do the compatibility testing in different operating systems. And the second reason is if you want to execute, if your test cases count is very high, then go for using the grid so that you can reduce execution time. Okay, so that's about introduction to automation and Selenium as well. So did I put Selenium Java FAQs with answers? I did not. Uh, Let me check it. Java. Okay, so these are the FAQs along with the answers I have put here. I will put this in the Google Class. First, go through. There are 41 questions I have put it here. Okay, the total 41 FAQs. What you have? Why continuously laughing? 41 FAQs. 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 41 Fine. Okay. So 41 questions I have written here. You guys can go through it. I'll upload it into the Google Class. Okay. I'll upload it into the Google Class. Go through it, and I also given you the manual FAQs. So first complete manual FAQs with the answers, then go for Java FAQs with the answer because we are going to start Selenium from tomorrow. I think we already started today, and tomorrow we will take it out to Selenium with the actual program. Now let me show you how automation script looks like any kind of test case. Let me show you HRM login. So this is how your automation script is going to look for HRM login. If you wanted to automate to log in HRM, just try to run it. Whether it will work or not, I don't know. Let's try to see it. So it will automatically go and open the. Okay, just give me a minute. Online course, you guys see my. So it automatically opens the browser. It types admin, it types password, then it clicks on. Okay, I think online course you are not able to see it because slide was going to you. So let me run it. Now you guys can see it will go and open the Chrome browser. It will type application URL. See, it's typed orange HRM, it entered user ID, it entered password, it logged in into HRM code. This is how your automation script is going to look. Okay? Yeah, I think you guys can leave. We'll catch up tomorrow. I'll upload this document to